Oh.
Sophie's joining us.
As you can
Sophie's
see.
choice is...
All right, Sophie.
The women in black.
Come on, baby. I know, and we're going to get white dog hair all over us. Okay, hop down, baby. You got this. You got this. You know, today we wanted to talk about something that has been in the news a lot.
Ooh, it's intense.
A lot.
It's intense.
You know, I feel like every single day someone else is coming out and saying, this person sexually harassed me or this person sexually assaulted me. And I think there's so much of that right now. And it's created this conversation that really is running the gamut of from sexual harassment, you know, basically someone's maybe saying something that they shouldn't be saying to you, to complete sexual assault where, you know, women are being, you know, assaulted, sexually, raped
made
and
to do things that they're not comfortable doing.
And then, you know, there's always people chiming in that women are lying or maybe not all of the accusations are true. And
because what's the fun? That is much like you probably. That is baffling to me because to me, I'm like, yeah, that's fun. Let me set myself up so that you can call me nasty names and attack my character and me be completely vulnerably exposed and feel a ton of shame anyway. Like, I think maybe people who say that are not realizing when you are sexually abused in any way, when you are harassed, there is a lot of shame that comes with that. Innately, there's shame built in. We automatically say, was my dress too low? Maybe I should have, did I say something? Did I do something? Did I cause this? Did I bring this on myself? That's what people naturally, normally do to begin with. That's why it's so hard to report. That's why people are taking 15 years to come out with something because of the sheer terror that you're going to say, well, what were you wearing? And how close did you sit? And did you flirt? So we're already terrified of that. Why would I make something up? So that I could make myself vulnerable so that you could attack me. I mean, I know it's been done, but I don't think that often because why would someone do that to themselves?
It really makes me angry. You know, we did something at the station recently where we posted a topic about how a lot of companies now are not serving alcohol at their holiday parties just because of this whole sexual harassment, sexual assault stuff. You know, and one of the first comments that was posted was by a man that said, well, look at the way they dress when they're at those holiday parties. You know, they got their hooker shoes on. You know, they got the low-cut dresses. I mean, what are they supposed to do? Yeah. And so I was so angry because I can't believe that people still think that way, first of all. The other argument that really burns me up is when people bring in the fact that I was just giving her a compliment, and then she turned me into HR.
Well, let's go with the first one for a minute, because what just jumped on me that's fascinating is if you've ever, I mean, we're just, if you're like 15, turn this off, because we're going to get down and dirty and raw and just talk real stuff right now. So what just jumped on me is how many men I've had conversations with about strip clubs, and they all say the same thing. Oh, you can't touch them. You can't touch them. So let me get this straight. There's a naked girl. She's naked. She's straddling you and she's dancing and putting her junk in your face. But you know, you can't touch her. You get thrown out. The bouncer will beat you up. You can't, that's her body. You can't touch her. But if we go to a party and I have a little bit of cleavage and some 3-inch heels, what are they asking for? I mean, what is that? The rule is the rule, folks. If you walk into Starbucks and you don't like the person in front of you and you shove them, it's called assault, which means you can't put your hands on another person that didn't grant you permission, no matter what they say or do or look like. And you know what? That same guy probably adheres to that rule. I bet he doesn't punch somebody in the parking lot just even though he makes them mad because you can't do it. It's against the law. But somehow this is permission? No, absolutely not.
You know, I think this, I really am... I'm sad that this whole Harvey Weinstein thing happened because I feel like these were powerful women that for so long kept quiet because of that shame, or because you don't want to rock the boat, or because you don't want to lose your job, or whatever it is. You know, and I've never been sexually harassed to the level that I feel needed to be reported, and maybe that's something that will change within all of us.
Fascinating statement. To the degree that needs to be reported.
degree that needs to be reported because you feel like you don't want to make a big deal or you don't want to rock the boat. But, you know, people have said things to me that are completely inappropriate. And not just, you know, in a place of work, but also online. Some of the stuff that people say to me, and I'm like, I cannot believe that you would ever say that to a woman if you walked up to her in person.
Sure, that they, you know,
that you don't know. Pause.
I want to respond to what you said about people, what you were just talking about, people saying things to you online that's inappropriate. And you had said, you know, that men might say, you know, I just gave a compliment. And so what I want to, you know, these videos are to teach. So let me be gentle here. And if you've conned your husband into watching, or if there's men watching, which we do have men that watch, and thank you, and I love that. But, you know, let's be very clear here. You can compliment someone, and I so appreciate that. I've had such beautiful comments where men have said, you know, I love those shoes. Those are really nice. My wife would
or you look beautiful today.
You look beautiful today. Or, you know, my wife would love those boots. Where did you get those? Those are fun. Those are, you know, and they're very appropriate. And then I've had people who can say hi, but they say, hey. And they add a sexual energy to it. And if you don't know what sexual energy is, research this, because if you're feeling tingly in your body and you're feeling attracted to somebody, you need to really safeguard how you're communicating, because sexual energy is a powerful thing. And if you're leading with that while you're giving a compliment, you're going to possibly make the other person feel uncomfortable. And it might be unwanted sexual energy that you're placing on them and make them feel even scared or uncomfortable. And just to have some empathy and compassion, I know parking lots are a very scary place for me. And when I go to Publix at night and I walk out and there's somebody who walks up to me in my space, no matter what they're saying or doing, I'm a woman by myself at night. I'm going to feel scared and anxious. And so I think sometimes men don't understand that intimidation factor. And as a therapist, I will tell you, I've spent years working with couples where a woman will say, he scares me. And I will turn my head to the man and he will go like this. What? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. You're 6'2", she's 5'4", you're 230 pounds, she's 125 pounds. She grew up in possibly neighborhoods where people got beat up or whatever. You are intimidating, even though in your mind you're saying, I would never hurt my wife. I would never lay a hand on anybody. Men can be intimidating to women. So please build some space for that, you know? And so with you add that you're bigger, you're taller, you're in a power position, and you're sending a sexual message. It's not the same as going, hey, I love that dress. That's so pretty. I love the black and white. It's a great, you know, great colors together. That's different than sexualizing someone.
Yeah, and you know, that was the argument for a lot of people on social media this week, is that, you know, they know people, you know, everyone knows people. They know people who have gotten in trouble at work for sexually harassing someone when they were just giving a compliment. And I would argue how they gave that compliment, or what they said, or what phrasing they used, or how they used their body would turn it from a compliment into sexual harassment.
Well, and you know, this is where this gets dicey, and I've seen this. I have friends that work in, I'm not going to call them out, but that work in environments where there's a lot of men and women together, and they're all really good friends, and there's a lot of joking. There's a lot of joking. And so that, to me, is an easy place to get into trouble, because like your work's a perfect example. There's 4 or 5 of us milling around. 4 of us are like on board, joking, silly. I know you don't mean anything. You know I don't mean anything. But then there's one person who's really uncomfortable with that. And that's fine. There's no judgment against them. But that's when you get into those dicey environments, because the joking is inappropriate, but there's 3 out of 4 that are fine with it. But then there's one person who's getting triggered and feeling uncomfortable. And they're right. That's their right. And I understand that. Those environments, I can understand that happening. Compliments, I can't even get on board with. But that really makes sense to me when there's kind of the raunchy joking and everybody feels safe except 1 or 2 people. And that's fair. And I think, and you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is a platform to discuss how to do that differently.
Well, but I don't think it is, because if we're talking about sexual harassment and we're talking about sexual assault, I don't think that has any, when you've been truly sexually assaulted or sexually harassed, to the point that these Harvey Weinsteins and these sort of people were doing it, I don't think the I gave a compliment but it got taken the wrong way argument belongs in that conversation.
No, I agree. And I think that it is still something that needs to happen at the workplace of discussing joking and things like that. And maybe that's something that we discuss at meetings and say, hey, you know, if you're not comfortable, please set a boundary. You know, those jokes are not okay with me. And that's a separate issue. And
it is 100% a separate issue. And I think in those cases, women need to be better about saying, or men, you know, whoever it is that's feeling uncomfortable, need to be better about saying, guys, that's making me uncomfortable. You know, hey guys, let's not say that kind of stuff anymore. I really think we need to get better about being better with our boundaries. I agree in the workplace. I mean, when it's not such a clear case. I mean, I think these other cases where we're talking about people in power that have clearly abused their power, that's not you're never going to be able to set boundaries with that person.
Right. And I do think that a tool to give to those people that are in those in-between environment is I love to add a joking tone but have the statement be real. So I'll often, when somebody does something, I'm pretty hard to offend, but you know, I'll go inappropriate, flag on the play, you know, inappropriate talk, you know, inappropriate language, inappropriate sexualization, you know, like I'll set a boundary, but it's funny, but I'm letting you know, like, nah, that was a little over the line, right? So, you know, you can, I think there's subtle ways of doing that where you do set a boundary and you don't feel like you're the, you know, party pooper.
Right.
You know?
So have you ever had any sort of,
she's in the news. She just goes right for it.
I talked about mine. I feel like
right in there.
You need to talk about yours.
Well, you know,
yours is a little more.
Well, yeah, I was saying to Suzanne earlier, you know, I've been very blessed, I guess, in that I've had my own business for a long time, and so my boss is pretty cool. She doesn't sexualize me.
She's amazing, by the way.
I have a great boss, and she's not too flirty, just enough. So I don't have a lot of that in my workplace. You know, I guess I could look at the fact that I have male clients. I set a pretty severe tone as far as you know, really holding my boundaries. So I've been really blessed that I haven't, and that's not to say that other people who have been harassed by their clients aren't setting the boundary, but I've just been really fortunate that way. But my history with sexual assault, sexual harassment is sexual abuse from childhood and those boundaries being violated as a child. So it actually is something that kind of fits into all of this, because often what you're going to see with these sexual harassment cases is that when you are violated as a child, in my case it was a babysitter when I was young, and then of course exactly what I'm about to say. Once those boundaries are violated, you get blurred, and it opens Pandora's box, because now you kind of expect to be violated. And so then you go through life kind of with open boundaries and not really letting anybody know, hey, I'm uncomfortable, you're kind of too close, please don't touch me, you know. So, and there's so much shame. And once that shame is deposited in a sexual encounter as a child, being molested as a child by a babysitter, an uncle, whatever it may be, once that is in place, you are a little bit predisposed to those other encounters for the rest of your life. Unless you do some really intense therapy work, which of course I've done, but it really is a little bit of a setup, especially like if you're like me, molested at a young age, then at 13, 14, 15, you know, I was in those environments, or even in dating situations where I didn't choose the healthiest people that were able to respect my boundaries, and I didn't set the proper boundaries. Date rape, that kind of thing can happen, and did happen in my case. So we do see a lot of this kind of all tying together, and I think it was even Corey Feldman that, you know, talked about that concept of like, there's so much shame when you're abused, especially at a young age, that you just feel like you have no voice. It's like your voice is plucked from you at 3, 4, 5, 10 years old, and then you have no voice, and so kind of whatever happens. And so this is a big thing right now of, well, why didn't she come forward sooner? Well, because if you were abused at a younger age, you are basically trained to zip it and to carry all the shame of the perpetrator and of the predator, and to believe that you must have done something to cause it, so that by the time you're 22 and you're working and somebody violates you, you're like, yeah, I kind of saw that coming, because why wouldn't I?
You know, and the interesting thing that someone said to me on social media, because people were saying, well, why are all these people coming out now? And she said, because they're triggered. they're seeing other women come forward, and now they're triggered, and they're saying, that happened to me too.
Yeah.
I had one woman reach out to me and say, this brought up so much for me. I was sitting down with my mom and told her about an incident that happened to me. Yeah. And then she told me about something that happened to her, about how she was, sexually assaulted when she was a young mother. Right. And so these are things that were kept quiet within their family forever until this stuff started coming out. And they're like, holy crap, I'm not alone here.
I'm not alone. And we have a culture that blames the victim. And so when you see a movement like this and you've been holding on to it for years and you see that people are listening to the victim and that the victim has a voice and they're not blaming the victim, you're going to get on board. You're triggered, and now you feel like, oh my goodness, somebody might not call me a drama queen or an attention seeker or whatever it may be that people, shame the victim and blame the victim.
And the issue with these people that they're coming out about are they're people in positions of power. They are in Congress. They are in Hollywood. They are, very high-powered men. And so, it's an immediate assumption that you're lying.
Yeah.
I heard it even in the newsroom when people would come out, oh, this one can't be true too. And I'm thinking, yes, it can.
Yeah, they're doing it for attention.
Right. And so it makes me so angry. So maybe take a step back before you instantly assume that someone must be lying. And because I think what you said is so true, it is very difficult if you have truly been sexually assaulted or harassed to come out and tell your story.
Yeah. And also you need to remember when you are in these situations, like let's just look at over the past few years, there was a case, you'll know exactly because you're in the news, but the case of the young girl who was up in the boarding school / college, and it was a ritual among the men to try to bed down right as they were graduating. And so she was, she felt seduced and coerced, and then it was a big rape case, and the kid was like, 19 years old, 21 years old, and I think, I can't remember, I think she lost. I think she lost, or she won, but then he kind of got a slap on the wrist. And it's this concept of almost that she had to prove that she didn't send any mixed messages and that she didn't wear a skimpy dress. And she had, it's like all this stuff you have to prove.
Well, and in those cases, like for instance, we just had a case not too long ago where a young man had raped an unconscious woman outside of outside of college, outside of a frat party or whatever it was. And he did get a slap on the wrist. He got 6 months. Oh. He'd raped this woman.
Right.
And he got
unconscious,
6 months.
Not moving.
Right. And
he was
and the judge's argument was that he had a bright future. That was the judge's argument. I guess he was like a lacrosse star or a soccer star. I don't remember the whole details. But, I mean, it's crazy to me that it's not taken, it's like rape. It's just rape.
But if the judge had been sodomized while unconscious, I'm curious if that might have gone a little differently.
Right. I mean, there was a ton of backlash against that judge for that, but it was, it's just crazy. It's crazy to me, and I'm glad that it has come out now, because I feel like this is it's a reckoning. I feel like it's a turning point in our society that women aren't afraid to speak out anymore, and not just women who are, these are powerful women. Yeah. These are women that, have a big voice. Yeah. And to think that they were kept quiet for so long because of the shame.
Well, the other thing I would like to ask of kind of the universe at large right now is there's something that I call the pendulum swing in any situation. If I have a client who comes into me, and I would call them maybe a mouse. They come in, and every time I say, well, did you say how you felt? And they're like, no, like I never say, and they're like a mouse, and they never speak up, and they feel like they don't have a voice. I put it that they're here, right? And then when we start working in therapy, and I'm encouraging, and we're stirring the pot, then they come back, and they almost always come back, let's say 5 weeks later, 2 months later, and they go, I keep telling everybody off. I'm like screaming, and this girl cut me off, and I was waving my hand.
The quiet woman has now got her voice.
The mouse is now a monster, and they're like, oh my goodness. And I say, no, don't worry. the pendulum swings, because if I say to somebody, hey, where's the middle ground here? You'd be like, what do you mean?
Right.
But if I say, where's the middle ground here? You could put your hand right in the middle, and that's the goal, but no one finds the middle from one end.
Yeah.
So most of us have to go all the way to the other side. Now, if you give that to this scenario, okay, I will give you that. Now there's permission in the world, and people are listening, that you're going to hear from the person who's been raped, sodomized, molested, all of it, all the way to the person who's like, I don't like the way he winked at me when I walked by. Right. You are going to hear all that because they feel safe, they feel justified. But there will be a middle ground here. And so please, because of this person, please don't throw out everybody else because somebody's, says, well, he brushed my leg and
it made me uncomfortable.
Whatever. I mean, so find that there's a middle ground and don't be so quick to discount, because I think a lot of people do that. They just wipe out all, God, it's so extreme and, dramatic. And,
because if you read some of the stuff of Harvey Weinstein and Matt Lauer, I mean, it's
that
shocking.
One, I got to be honest, that one broke my heart. And I got to say, I'm watching the Today Show every day, and I'm like, wah, wah. It's not grabbing me like it used to. I mean, I'm so sad and shocked.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. And Charlie Rose, I mean, I think a lot of people are. It's crazy, but that just shows you how pervasive it is. It just shows you that, for so long it was accepted and it was okay, and it's not okay.
Yeah,
it's not okay.
It's not okay. And please share your voice. And if you don't feel comfortable, just kind of another plug always, I'm a therapist. So if you don't feel comfortable saying me too and putting your information out there, if this is triggering you, please go and do some therapy and healing, because it affects everything. And I know for me, my 20 years of therapy was about reclaiming my sexuality, because when you're abused or when you're raped or harassed, it a lot of times will make you pull in and oh, well, I can never, I don't want to dress, and it kind of shuts you down, and your sexuality is yours.
Yeah.
And it's a part of you,
it's an important
spiritual,
part of you.
Emotional, physical, sexual. It's a part of you. So if you feel like you gave yours up long time ago in a date rape or an assault or any of these things, please do go work with somebody. There's so many amazing techniques that right now they're using in therapy to heal people very quickly, and allowing them to reclaim their sexuality and feel safe and not feel the shame. No need for you to carry the shame anymore of the perpetrator.
Yeah, that's good advice. All right, and please leave your comments. Share this video with anyone who you think might need it, or share it on your Facebook page, please. That is the biggest compliment you can give us. Like our page, like our videos, and make sure you leave a compliment.
Be sure and leave a compliment, would ya?
You can leave a compliment too, but a comment would work just as well.
Hey, that's what we like. And a comment too.
And if you have any show ideas or episode ideas, please send them to us. Please let us know, because we are definitely open to anything that you want us to talk about.
Yes.
All right, What Your Friends Won't Tell You, that's today's episode. Thank you for watching. Bye, guys.
Bye.